Hello, I'm once again off on the long road, although actually it's not that long a road tonight. I'm heading to Bedford, which is about a 20-minute drive from where I live. Very short notice tonight. I wasn't actually booked to be gigging at all tonight, and then about an hour ago I got a message asking if I could go and fill in and do a middle spot for Pear-Faced Comedy. I didn't really feel like it was one that I could turn down. This is a gig with some excellent comedians tonight. So Norman Lovett is going to be on, who I guess is best known for being the guy who played Holly in Red Dwarf, which was a programme that when I was growing up I absolutely loved. And also Dane Baptiste is on tonight. Now I have met Dane before, but I've never gigged with him. I interviewed him as part of the documentary that I made right at the beginning of my comedy journey. And I wanted to talk to him because he had done the same comedy course that I was doing at the comedy school in London. And he clearly is somebody who has put a huge amount of work into what he does and is very thoughtful about the whole process and really considered in the answers that he gave me in that interview. And he's quite an inspiration, really. So I'm delighted to be on a bill alongside him. It's my second time in Bedford in the last week, actually, because I was there for Castle Comedy last week, alongside Nigel Ung and Ninia Benjamin. Again, very, very successful acts on the comedy circuit. And I just do think it's really great how, when you are a new comedian, and 3 years in, I still consider myself incredibly new to this, you do find yourself on bills alongside some of the big players. And I do think that comedy is pretty unique for that, really. You wouldn't do that in football, for example. If you decided that you wanted to take up playing football, joined a Sunday League team, you wouldn't suddenly find yourself playing alongside Premier League players and in the same matches that they're in. So I think that's a really good opportunity, and it's really lovely to be able to kind of mix with those kind of people, and obviously to learn from them as well, watch what they do and try and work out what makes them so good and use a little bit of that in your own stuff. The other thing I suppose that I should say, doing a gig at such short notice, is the impact that it has on others around you. Tonight I was not supposed to be doing this. A couple of hours ago I was at the Christmas lights switch on in my hometown of Newport Pagnell, which was lovely but very, very cold. And I had planned tonight to spend it with my wife, having a couple of bottles of wine to celebrate some success that she's had at work and some good news that she's had this week. But instead I'm getting in the car and heading off to yet another gig. So I think it's important to kind of recognise the impact that it has and just how supportive she is, and how important it is, I suppose, that you do have supportive people around you, because she doesn't complain, even when it's an hour's notice and I say, right, we were going to stay in, but now I'm going out, and you're going to be sat celebrating on your own toasting yourself with a glass of wine. She doesn't moan, she just kind of nods and smiles and accepts the way that it is. And she didn't really sign up for this. I signed up for this, but she's been brilliant at supporting me and allowing me to get away with, I suppose. I think a lot of her friends say, I don't know how you let him get away with that. But yeah, I don't think it would be possible to do comedy without the support of your partner. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I hope it's worth it. I hope that I haven't kind of neglected her for no reason, but I will find out, and I will check in with you and let you know how it goes a little bit later on. Well, that was a little bit of a strange one, if I'm honest. The room was not ideal for comedy. It was a big sort of community hall with sort of a sports hall vibe going on with that wooden floor. But a stage at one end, although the stage wasn't independently lit. I mean, it was, but it was ceiling lights above the stage. So you kind of was stood in shadow a lot of the time. There wasn't any actual stage lights picking out your face. So it was quite hard to kind of engage the audience and feel like you've got their attention. I could also see quite a lot of them and see their reactions, which is always well, it's often quite off-putting if there are a couple of people, as there were right in front of me, who didn't seem to be loving it so much. Most of the audience were on board, though. Dane Baptiste had opened and did a brilliant job with that, as was expected. Then I went on in the middle, and they, like I say, they seemed to enjoy it, but they just weren't giving loads back. There was a very drunk couple at the back who were talking a little bit throughout, and I think that distracted quite a lot of the audience and put quite a bit of attention on them. But I got away with it, I think. And then Norman Lovett closed. He was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen what he does. He did 20 minutes at the end without seeming to really do any jokes. It was just, he comes on stage and talks about things that catch his attention, as it, within the room. He was talking about the people at the bar and how they weren't paying attention. He talked about the fire exit sign. He had some props as well. But again, he's just sort of explaining what he's noticed about these props. It's hilarious, very, very funny stuff. But without, I mean, maybe this is a testament to his skill as a comedian. I couldn't spot any sort of pre-written material. He was just explaining the thoughts that were popping into his head at the time, which is a great way to be, I think. I also gave him a lift to the train station at the end, and he was just a fascinating man. It's always a little bit, it's easy to kind of be a little bit starstruck, I suppose, by people who you've watched doing comedy for a number of years, and then you find yourself just having normal everyday conversations with them. But he was fascinating. Like, in the space of a 10-minute drive to the train station, we managed to cover Ed Sheeran, ELO, Jeremy Hardy, who I'm a massive fan of, Stuart Lee, who I'm also a big fan of, John Cooper Clarke, who you may have seen on 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, Rachel Riley. That got us talking about politics, so we ended up with Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage. The whole thing was fascinating, but it was just sort of like ideas about all these people, and then it was over as quick as it began. So I really, really thoroughly enjoyed that, and the whole night was made worthwhile, not by the gig, which was good, but more so by the little journey to the train station at the end, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So another one done, ticked off the list. I'm going to go and try and make it up to my wife, who has been neglected once again because of me going off to do comedy. I'm sure she will forgive me though, and I will see you next time that I get on the long road. Thank you very much. See you again.